Welcome back everyone, hope all is well. Today is the day that I'm finally going to do a video that I've told myself that I was going to make for around about at least a year, I would say. But I could never really be asked, to be honest with you, and simply because I didn't really have any official confirmation and I only really had my gut instinct to go on. But as time's passed, the belief that I'm right has only strengthened. And as of today, I still don't have official confirmation, but something happened today to make me think that D-Day is only a matter of weeks away. So, what the fuck is the video vert that I hear you say? Well, the video today is about the death of the Chinese version of The Division 2. Sounds dramatic, eh? So, let's get into it.
Hello, ni hao. My name is Julian Garrity, executive producer on The Division. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to Chinese players for their love and support for The Division 2. The Division is one of my favorite games of all time. In the game, players will be playing as elite agents, finding ways to rebuild society and restoring order. You'll need to find civilians, help them out of crises, rebuild defenses, and take back the city from different factions. Our Shanghai production team has developed a brand new China version of the game while respecting the original. To welcome even more players, we also changed the business model of the Chinese version, making it entirely free to play. In addition, we reworked the whole experience, smoothing the onboarding experience and unlocking more content in early stages. We offer level 30 boosts for free if you want to start over without having to grind levels. We're also improving and enriching the endgame, adjusting the difficulty of the summit, and creating new content like game modes in Chinese New Year. Not to forget, new outfits, new operation events featuring Chinese culture. Now, together with our publishing and operations partner Tencent, we are extremely happy and excited to bring The Division 2 to China. With over 50 million franchise players worldwide, we believe The Division 2 is the fresh, hyper-realistic open-world adventure shooter that Chinese players have been waiting for. Thanks for watching, agents. Bye-bye. 再见.
If you're one of my regular viewers, you'll be well aware that I've covered the Chinese server for around 2 years now. Might be a little bit more, might be a little bit less. Can't quite remember. I tried to keep everyone in the West abreast of what is happening over in China and showing all of the new and wacky things that they come up with. I personally have put a lot of hours into the Chinese version of The Division 2, and I wanted to experience the game in a different way and also get to understand why the Chinese prefer this version over its international counterpart. So, what happened? Well, first of all, let's just take a brief look at the history of the Chinese version of The Division 2. Now, way back in 2021, Tencent acquired the license to publish The Division 2 in China. Ubisoft Shanghai were placed in charge of the game's development, and they were really tasked to modify the game to comply with Chinese regulations and to localize the game more for the Chinese market. The game's model was also changed to a free-to-play model, which in turn brought about really major changes to the game's progression systems, and it made it very heavily monetized. And realistically, they wanted to extract, in my opinion, the most value from its players. In other words, it wanted to fleece the life out of the players. Now, during 2022, the game went into like a limited beta mode, and by August 2023 it was ready for its full launch. Now, an important fact to note here is that in early 2023 our version of the international game came to Steam. Now, for a very short period of time, the Chinese players were able to purchase and play our version through Steam, but their access was pulled. This was actually a commercial strategy decision by Ubisoft. They locked away the international Steam version for the Chinese players. It was a commercial decision to protect the dedicated market for the Tencent published Chinese edition. This ensured that the players who wanted to play the game in China were directed to the official local version, which complied with local regulations and had its own monetization and operation model. In short, this was a business decision. Ubisoft chose to offer the game in China through a specific officially sanctioned channel, basically the Tencent version, rather than allowing access to the international Steam version. The reason why this is important will become very clear later in this video. So, it's late 2023, the game launches, it's a success. The player count is high. The game featured the DC and Warney maps at launch, and it continues the story from year 2 from our game. Now over the next 10 seasons, new and improved things are added. The summit is introduced, but it's repurposed. It's all around gaining points for your SHD watch, which in turn changes every season to help keep the meta fresh. Both raids are added, but not too long into its lifespan. A new legendary difficulty of the Dark Hours raid is also added into the game with different mechanics and different rewards. Then came the introduction of legendary weapons. A new legendary weapon was introduced every season. These weapons were sought after and extremely powerful when paired with their paid accessories. Multiple crazy vanity outfits are released every single season, which has become the staple of the game. Paradise Lost Incursion was added with 4 difficulty modes. A new gear mod system was redesigned. Over time, every mission received a legendary difficulty level. Timed game modes were added like Red Dragon Block and the Abyss. Higher tiers of gear were introduced. Escalation-like difficulties were added to every mission in the game, and the totally fantastic 24-man PvE DZ was available, alongside your in-game companions. It sounds a lot, so what's not to like? Well, really, it wasn't a lot. As an outsider looking in, it may sound great, but as a player who actually played it daily and put the time in, it was very obvious to me what was eventually going to happen, and I could really see the end well over a year ago, if not longer. So, what went wrong? Well, there's lots of reasons which compounded over time. The story was pretty much abandoned after season 4. Whilst manhunt still took place, there was no lore, there was no comms, there was no reason to be even the slightest bit interested in it. Every season a new legendary weapon was introduced, but it was always stronger than the last one, meaning if you didn't pay, then you were left behind. New gear tiers were introduced every other season, making you re-grind everything again unless you paid to upgrade. The game became extremely unbalanced, but the Chinese players craved more power and the devs just kept giving it to them, whilst monetizing it even more. Then over time, as gear became more powerful and new systems were added, the barrier for entry became high for new players, making them not really stick around for long unless they opened the wallets. But for me, there was 3 big reasons. The first reason is simply because free-to-play games rely on its whales, and they also rely on new players and new activities. The truth is, the biggest whales started leaving or have left the game for the international version, which leads into the second reason. New playable content was not coming, it never was. The game was crying out for things like Countdown, Descent, Brooklyn to be ported over, but it never happened. Whether this was down to license agreements, I really don't know, but players got tired of playing the same old missions over and over with no real reason to do so. Then, the third reason, The Division 3. You see, earlier I mentioned that Ubisoft Shanghai were the lead studio for developing the Chinese game, but as I understand it, many of their dev team has now moved over to help and support the development of The Division 3, leaving really only a handful of devs left to maintain the Chinese server, and maintaining is exactly what they're doing. Since the start of the current season, which is season 10, the Chinese game has been in maintenance mode, not officially, but in my view. Very little activity is generally taking place, with only a few web activities. There is currently nothing new planned for a new season, and all that comes from the devs on the game's future is deadly quiet. But with the current season set to end in the next 5 weeks, we should find out shortly what's exactly planned, if anything. Then, today, something happened to make me think that the end is closer than what most people think. Because of today, the block imposed by Ubisoft and Tencent on Chinese players being able to access the international game through Steam has been removed. Now remember, it was only in place to force Chinese players to play the Chinese version, and now that block is gone, which leads me to believe that the lifespan of the Chinese version of the Division 2 is about to come to an end. Now many Chinese players are saying the same thing on the QQ Division 2 message boards, but with no official word and total dev silence, nothing can be 100% confirmed. Lingering questions remain. Will Tencent renew its license for the Division 2 in China? Will Ubisoft Shanghai continue to support the game? Both look increasingly unlikely. What's left of the Shanghai team, so small that really doesn't make any sort of meaningful impact whatsoever, and with no new season announcements, the life cycle of the Division 2 Chinese server looks to be coming to an end. Whilst there has been no official announcement made on the inevitable closure of the Chinese server, for many it will be a sad end to a game that once painted the digital streets of DC with bright and chaotic promise, only to slowly fade away. So, there you have it. There is the death of the Chinese version of the Division 2. Do you think I'm right, or do you think I'm being a little bit too presumptive? Let me know in the comments below. But as always, thanks to everyone who stuck around and everyone who watches my videos. It really is appreciated. If you're not already subscribing to me on YouTube or X, or follow me on X, then come on man, do your boy a solid. What the hell are you doing? But until next time, it probably won't be China, but it'll be something else. Bye bye now.